Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for the continuation of our intermediate player guide series, where today we're going to be talking about spotting damage here in the game. So we'll go over some of the logistical things with that, and actually the whole premise of this battle I was just trying to help Clan Commander, friend Doombeagle, in the Worcester get 150,000 damage, but this ended up turning into a really good game, a good example of spotting damage. And I'm gonna call that ship, the tier 10 American light cruiser that Doombeagle's in, the Worcester. There are apparently many ways to pronounce the name of that ship. Okay, it's been a slight joke in the FLT community, many ways to pronounce it, and depending on your accents, depending on where you live in the world. So screw you all if you disagree with me. From now on, I'm just calling it Worcester. Okay, that's how I'm pronouncing the name of this ship. Anyhow, so yeah, the Yu Yang, the Pan Asian tier 10 destroyer with deep water torpedoes that got a buff not too long ago, as it got the torpedo reload booster, which honestly makes this ship the bomb, because beforehand I wasn't playing as much, but just the fact that I got the torpedo reload booster was awesome. So basically, we're going to use our Pan-Asian smokes as we want to smoke Doom up as much as possible in how we move along here in the game. So, and starting off here, I'm just going to nose in a strategic Notser the island and reverse back into the Delta Cap here. We are going to make several mistakes throughout the course of this video, so I'm going to try to point them out. But in the meantime, before I get talking about the spotting damage, I have a mistake coming up here that I just want to point out before we begin talking full on about spotting damage. So this is a smart play for us to reverse in, because there's a Z52 with a 6 kilometer hydro, right? If I was nosing caught, he could instantly smoke up hydro, and there's not much we could do. So I'm playing with my speed here just a little bit, and then I'm eventually going to decide I'm going to full on reverse. Now, that Yoshino just fired, and I'm not paying attention, and I'm reversing right into his salvo, and we're going to lose 5,000 health because of that, when I simply could have just re-accelerated forward. Okay, so that's the big thing here, where we make one of the mistakes. And then we use our get out of jail free card in the form of a engine boost to help propel us further out of the way. And then there's a radar, so we're going to have to go ahead and back off for the time being, as that Stalingrad is going to be a bit pesky for us to deal with here. So, spotting damage in World of Warships. As far as I know, Wargaming hasn't, please correct me in the community, as far as I know, Wargaming hasn't given us a mathematical breakdown of how it takes into account spotting damage and then transfers that into basically base XP in amplifying your earnings, so that you're talking about base XP, which translates to XP credits, so on and so forth. So as far as I know, I actually hardcore tried to look and find if there was something explaining that, but as far as I know, and what I remember from a well-known WoW's YouTube content creator, he was complaining not too long ago that there wasn't anything on it to kind of help explain and reward players for actually spotting and not just playing selfishly, right? But how does spotting damage work? The cause damage upon your spotting. So if you look on the top right of the screen, you'll see my 4,733 damage. You'll see 300,000 potential damage. That is potential damage. We could have taken shots, torpedoes that have all landed around us. And then you'll see 23,000 spotting damage. So that is the spotting damage. We are spotting for our team, and that is the damage you're causing by my spotting. But it's very important to kind of explain how exactly does this work, okay? So this was on the World of Warships Reddit just about over a year ago, and actually my admin chimed in here, Midnight Phoenix, shout out, on the FLT Discord server, commented in on this. And basically, you have to be the one who detects the enemy ships, and you keep them detected within that enemy ship's standard detection range, okay? And this one person, Fritzing, Says if nobody's shooting them, you won't get any spotting damage. If you break line of sight and somebody else has vision, you will get nothing since you aren't doing the spotting anymore. Best classes for this are CV, DD, and submarines. Least effective class, of course, would be the battleships. But as Midnight, he chimed in here because it's not just being the first to detect enemy ships. You don't have to be the first to spot the enemy ships. You just have to be within their detection range, and then hope your teammates that don't have vision of said enemy shoot it, right? So as an example, if I'm the one doing the spotting on a Yamato, right, and I'm within Yamato's standard detectability range of, let's just say it's 14 kilometers, but in that Yamato we'd be dark, but I'm the one causing spotting damage or spotting it, then my team starts shooting it, then that's how I begin to get spotting damage. As now you see we're up to 30,000. So sometimes you'll be like, wait, how does spotting damage work? Because you'll see the number go up and then all of a sudden it's just like not going up anymore, which can be really frustrating. But as Midnight Phoenix continues, he says spotting damage is counted for everyone that meets the vision requirements, regardless of your distance to the enemy or how many ships are doing the spotting. As long as you're spotting an enemy ship and a teammate is shooting it without being able to see it on their own, you'll get the spotting damage. Now I'm trying to remember exactly, like you had that Yoshino way far in the distance at the start, and because he fired at me, I was the closest one to said Yoshino player. If I hadn't been there, then I don't think others would have been able to shoot the Yoshino. So I think I got some spotting damage from that. I probably should have checked on that because I forgot about it. But now you see we're up to 60,000, okay? So again, yet you don't have to be the first to spot the enemy ships. You just have to be within their detection range, and then hope your teammates don't have vision of said enemy that are shooting it. And spotting damage is counted for everyone that meets the vision requirements, regardless of your distance to the enemy or how many ships are doing the spotting. As long as you're spotting an enemy ship and a teammate is shooting it without being able to see it on their own, you'll get the spotting damage. So that's basically what you're going to see a lot of in this game after we've taken out the Z52, okay? So a lot of spotting damage is going to happen more so in the latter half of this game. This almost broke my spotting damage record. When I checked, my spotting damage record is 217,000 damage caused by my teammates did on ships I spotted for them. And so the spotting damage is going to be a huge factor, I think, in how the game goes. But again, I think there's another mistake or two I want to point out here and how I could have played this a bit better. Now, we do have a reload build here on the Yu Yang with the torpedoes, because these torpedoes are awesome. They do a lot of damage. So we're looking up here, I was hoping to get that Shikishima, but we didn't. We haven't landed any torpedoes yet this game, but we have killed the enemies at 52, which makes it a lot easier as a destroyer player when you're wanting to move up and spotting. When you don't have a CV that's constantly flying over, taking all the spotting damage, and then secondly, you don't have a enemy, let's say a submarine, but particularly an enemy destroyer that's kind of blocking you from being able to get closer back into, let's say, the enemy spawn, and doing a lot of damage on them, as an example. So we did want to be mindful here because the Stalingrad, I was pretty sure he had his next radar ready to go. So he has radared us, so we're just gonna back away, being mindful that I think again that Yoshino player is shooting at us, but we've been tucked in here nicely next to this island, so we don't have to worry about it. The Stalingrad radar doesn't last as long as like the Des Moines radar, so we're just gonna chill out here. And we're waiting to see, I'm like, maybe I'll proxy spot him. He'll be within 2 kilometers of me, and then I'm probably going to go for it, even though I only have 9,600 damage. Imagine if I had that other 5,000 that I kind of goofed up earlier on. Now I see that he fired like right here, and I said, screw it, chicks dig scars and glory lasts forever. Yeah, I'm stealing that from Jingles. I watch him too much, but he's really cool. So I decided to go ahead and go for it. So we're going to pull out here. It's important that I get my torpedoes off as fast as possible because he permanently incapacitated one of my torpedo racks. I knew I could take 1 salvo from the Stalingrad, probably not 2. And we never fired our guns, so I'm not spotted to the enemy Yamato, Shikishima, excuse me, or the Bourgogne. But we go ahead and smoke up out of safety precautions, and we also want to give Doom Beagle the chance to go ahead and step up, get past the island, if he wants to be able to get some torps off. Now we did go ahead and use our torpedo reload booster. So now we're down to just having 1 rack of torpedoes. We only have 5 of the 10 now. So that's going to be a little bit of a pain. So we're going to not be as, per se, effective in terms of dealing damage, per se, unless we get really lucky with our torpedoes. So now the role is we just want to try to provide as much spotting as possible, as I'm hoping that Shikishima was going to keep sailing on, and maybe we get lucky and get some damage there. So I'm kind of feeling things out. I wanted to know which way the Shikishima was going to go. If he was going to W, then I wanted to be able to simply move away, as possibly one Shikishima salvo could end us. Again, be nice to have that other 5,000 hit points that we lost in the beginning of the game. So we are continuing to just do the spotting for now. We're only up to 60, almost 66,000 now. Don't worry, it's going to go up more as we progress here. Other things to make mention of in terms of spotting mechanics here in the game. Well, it would still be nice if we could, if maybe World of Warships again, Wargaming does have something that it tells us how we are rewarded for our spotting damage, but it's actually spotting damage. It does reward you in terms of the base XP, though we don't know exactly how much, and it does contribute immensely to whether you're sometimes your team can win or lose depending on spotting. You know, if you're a destroyer player, then ideally not only are you taking on perhaps the enemy destroyer, trying to whittle them down, or at least spot them for your teammates to fire upon, but also you're playing that role as spotting and not just hiding behind your cruisers and battleships. As an example, like you want to be out on the forefront of your team. Here's an example of you don't get any reward for this, but I'm also out here because I know the Yoshino has torpedoes. And if Doom's Hydra is down, then I want to be able to spot the Yoshino torpedoes that have I think their detectability range is actually on the poorer side. Maybe not as bad as Yodo torpedoes, but I can't recall off the top of my head. So we waited till next smoke came off cooldown, and we kind of laid a path there if Doom Beagle does want to step up more. But for now, we're going to move up here and keep this, continue to try to keep this Yoshino player and the Shikishima player spotted here. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get torpedoes on the Yoshino, at least in looking at a glance. Now, I am tempted to open up and shoot here, which I actually go ahead and do. As I'm going to dip behind the island because there's going to be some secondaries. I just want the Shikishima, I want him to feel a little bit pressured. There's 2 ways to play that. One is to just not let him know I'm sitting back here. The other is I want him to feel pressured that he has a destroyer in behind him and make him feel like he can't just sit there as comfortably. And we were able to get a double fire set on him. So maybe we can tax his damage control party more. So we're still trying to be a little bit harassing here, as then we spot the Wisconsin. So now we're at 85,000 spotting damage. So I'm trying to figure out, is the Shikishima just going to reverse? Is it going to go forward? If I was the Shikishima, I'm thinking I would probably go forward. So I'm expecting him to probably go ahead and step there onto sea, but I'm really hesitant with my torpedoes. But then I decided, okay, let's go ahead and get them in the water here, just in case. And then we have this Wisconsin player approaching us, so we're going to back off here just a little bit. But now spotting damage is at 102,000, so I'm going to try to be paying attention to that number a little bit more. I think some of the damage right now is coming in off of the Wisconsin, which Doom Beagle is focusing on there in the back. So just keep paying attention to that number as it goes up. We won't see the damage exactly every single time. But there's a just big chunk taken out of Wisconsin that put us up to 119,000. And now we get a flood out of the Shikishima. So he damage control party not too long ago, so that flood should stick there. And we're just going to continue to make his life a bit of a pain there. That's when in Wisconsin he's had enough. As our team, you can see they're pretty far back even in our spawn, all the way down on the J line, HI-J line. It's also because they have a pain of a submarine there as well. Now we do get the Combat Scout, which is an achievement for you have to do X amount of damage. Off the top of my head, I can look. I think you have to do Let me just look it up. World of Warships Combat Scout Achievements. I would hate to just go ahead and say it wrong off the bat. So help your team inflict damage by spotting enemy targets. The total spotting damage inflicted must amount to at least 20% of the total base hit points of all enemy ships. And you also must inflict damage on your own that equals at least 5% of the total base HP of all enemy ships. Can be obtained once per battle. So this has a little bit of that tie. Not only are you doing your spotting damage must inflict at least 20% of the total base hit points of all enemy ships without them healing in that, right? But then you also have to do at least 5% damage yourself. So it's not, you can't just get the achievement by being a passive player doing 0 damage. Now the other, this is where I want to talk about where we play it smart in one sense. You know, this Wisconsin's, he's throwing out depth charges planes because he's trying to figure out if we have our AA on, we have it off. But this is where I'm really going to say I mess up here, okay? There's a Conqueror that stepped on the sea, and it would have been better for me to go down towards sea cap and work to make sure to secure that Conqueror. Because if the Conqueror is smart, he's just going to sit on sea. He's going to probably try to cap it. But he doesn't really want to push into all of our team. You know, our team's still pretty far back, and we've got 2 battleships there on the 7-8 line. So it would have been better for me to go down there and just drop a rack there on the Conqueror. This Wisconsin player, on the other hand, is being smart. He's putting an island between myself and him, and you can even see him popping a spotter plane. Maybe he catches us with our AA if we have it up. So we're like, well, maybe he's going to reverse, but he looks like he's still moving forward a little bit, following the torpedo indicator mark. You know, now we're at 177,000 spotting damage. And here I'm like, well, this Yoshino player seems comfortable. Like, maybe he is just going to keep reversing. If I had another rack, I would have dropped the other rack forward, because I think he's just sitting there playing with his W and S key going forward and reverse. So that's the move there. Now, the big thing here in this situation is I'm not going to open up on either of these two with my guns for the time being. So we just keep the torpedoes up. If we switch in between our guns and our torpedoes, then there will be this, I'll be flashing them if they have priority target, which would, for example, no one else is really shooting at these two. It would say one detected if they have priority target. So they'd know I'm likely dumping torpedoes, even if, they, for example, they did not have hydro. So we are just keeping only our torpedoes up. And we're up to almost 200,000 spotting damage, but look how long that Conqueror is still alive there in sea. It would have been easy for us to just come down off the 5 line and kill him, because we've just lost our Wisconsin, and enemy team has the points lead. And a Conqueror is really hard to kill because of having that super heal, even though he doesn't have the best armor scheme, but he's pretty much sitting there more bow in. And then after killing the Conqueror, we would have easily been able to quickly step onto sea cap and flip it for our team. But now the Conqueror has finally gone down. We have a minute 38, and it's like, ooh, okay, we have the points lead now, but we can't really afford to lose anyone else. But also, the enemy team has 2 caps to our 1 cap. So if I would have been a bit more mindful, I would have seen that there would have been a points difference there if our team, for example, doesn't get any more kills. As that enemy submarine has been really pesky for our team and really keeping them away from being able to push up further. And I didn't recognize that initially of why they were playing so far behind. So I kind of messed up with my decisions, but also a little bit of my map awareness. And because I was trying to focus on trying to get these torpedoes off, which I only have the 1 rack. Now, seeing that the enemy team is getting closer on getting the points, we do get a flood. And 1 torpedo hit on Wisconsin. I was really hoping for more torpedoes there. I had to decide, hey, let me help this Colombo smoke up here and see if we can get this kill on the Wisconsin. Also, there we see the torpedoes from the Yoshino, and they've spotted the sub, so hopefully there's a lot of depth charges coming on him, as you see that on the mini-map, and they get the sub. So that is a definite breather. But our Colombo is also really low, as I'm checking on his health. So I'm like frantically trying to get the kill here. The Wisconsin still has his damage control party going. I think he's probably built it for range or length, to extend the action time of the consumable. And I'm like, dude, I feel like some of my shells are just going like really wild right now. So out of the 34 hits, only 10 penetrated, and the Colombo takes out the Wisconsin just in time as we get over 213,000 spotting damage. So we were quite helpful overall in the game, but there are a few areas where we could have saved 5,000 hit points. We should have just moved in and killed that Conqueror early on, and identifying a lack of map awareness of why our team was sitting so far back in our spawn. So 129,000 damage, and you might be wondering, well, it's not an amazing game. You got 2 kills, you did get a solo cap, but how much base XP did we actually end with this all said and done? Well, we actually topped the team with 2,790 base experience, with our Colombo rocking there in second place with 2,264 base XP. So we actually contributed quite a lot, and we rewarded, but again, I don't know what the calculation is on depending on how much spotting damage you do, how much does that further boost your base experience. So you can see a layout of the damage here. So again, that's 213 spotting thousand damage. So we were just what under 4,000 shy of beating my previous record. We did take a lot of damage. Unfortunately, we lost one of those torpedo racks as well. But we were a little bit of a thorn in enemy team's side, and that actually helped us. We did push the Yoshino and the Wisconsin away. They were paranoid about us, which is always a good thing. But all said and done, our team pulled it off, and the GK did good in killing that submarine, and Colombo being clutch and taking out the Wisconsin at the end to make sure our win was secure. So that is spotting damage. So I think probably I will have thrown that comment in on the screen from Midnight Phoenix in that, if you just kind of need to read it, take a picture, and understanding it yourself, because it is a little bit vague, right? This is one of those things that as a new player you probably won't understand, so it's really more of a intermediate player beginning to understand this concept and how spotting damage, spotting mechanics, well, not, I want to say spotting mechanics, but spotting damage works here in the game. As spotting mechanics is like, that's a whole different conversation. So if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.